Hey guys, so today's talk is all about simple changes, what you need to have a good simple change, how you can improve them, and also exercises you can use with them. So first of all, what is a simple change? The definition is a canter to walk to canter transition with 3 to 5 walk steps. Now this may sound very simple, but there are a lot of different ingredients that go into getting a good simple change, and that's what we're going to talk through today. Let's talk about the canter first and what is needed in that. First up is collection. The horse needs to be able to collect in the canter to do a smooth transition into the walk. A nice way of thinking about it is that the canter has to be as close to the speed of the walk so that it's a smooth transition, and the same back up, so you have to go back into a collected canter from the walk. To get a good collection, your horse needs to be engaged and balanced, and also on the half halt and on your seat, so they're not leaning on the hand and running through the bridle. Another important aspect that you need is to have the horse straight. The reason for this is if the hind legs are going to the left or the right, then they can't really use the full power of their hind legs because they're not tracking up with them, so that's not going to help with the engagement and the balance. And then you have the walk. So you have to have a really nice rhythmical collected walk. It's important that it's not too free and onward bound, because otherwise the upwards transition is going to be a little bit spread out and the horse may drag itself into canter instead of pushing into canter. Also, it's important that you really keep your hips relaxed as you do this, because if you tense up your hips, then the horse is going to lock out their back and they're not going to be able to use their hind legs properly. So you have to really think about your relaxation as well, and riding off your seat and not trying to ride too much off your hand. I'm just going to run through a few common issues, things that I normally get asked about simple changes, so that everyone knows why they're happening and also how to help them. First up is abrupt transitions into the walk. So this is where the horse either stops or is very sticky walking forwards into the walk. This is normally caused from a lack of collection going into the walk, so the horse feels that loss of balance and has to slam on the brakes or stop. So if you're struggling with this problem, it's really important to work on the canter, not necessarily the transition itself. Improve the canter, improve the collection, and then the transition will improve also. Next up is the horse from the canter either trotting before the walk or jogging in the walk. Again, this is a lack of collection and a lack of balance, so you just have to work on that canter before you start the transition. You have to think, could I walk from this canter? Another common issue, and this is something that I personally struggled with for a while, is when the horse becomes crooked in the transition. Like I said earlier, this isn't good when the horse becomes crooked because they can't use their hind legs and they can't use the power in their hind legs to keep in balance. So it's important to straighten these transitions up. Now I always think about having my outside rein a little bit more so they don't fall through the shoulder and the quarters can't come in and then they're not over bent to the inside. Really think about riding the outside of the horse as you strike off into canter. This may be a little bit hard to start with because the horse may be used to going into the canter crooked and they also might not be as strong in the correct way, but keep working through it because they'll be a lot more powerful doing it the correct way. A great place to do this is try doing the transitions on the wall so you have that helping you a little bit to stay straight. Now let's talk about what you can do to improve your simple changes. First of all, I'm going to talk about improving the canter, and then improving the transitions, and then improving the simple changes themselves, and also little exercises that you can do with the simple changes. Let's talk about improving the canter for the simple change, and the first thing you need to start to improve is the collection. Now, one of my favourite places to start to improve collection, especially on younger horses, is using circles, because this naturally brings them back. If you've just been doing 20 metre circles on your horse, then you can start to think about doing a 15 metre circle and then a 10 metre circle. My favourite place to do this is to do it in the middle of the 20 metre circle, so I haven't got the walls to rely on, and I can also think if I'm bringing the horse around with my outside rein, steering them a little bit with my inside leg, and then that can really help the horse balance as well. Also, it's a great place to do it here because you don't feel like you have one shot at doing the circle. You can go around as many times as you feel you need to until the horse feels a little bit more balanced. Obviously be careful with this, don't push them too much so they're too tired, but it gives them that opportunity to start to find their balance. Another one of my favourite exercises for strengthening horses up is counter canter. This is amazing for improving their balance, engagement, and also really thinking about straightness, because you can feel as the horse becomes a little bit more crooked how much they lose the power. I always think about really getting the horses nice and strong in a counter canter. So on a youngster, of course, I'll change the rein, I'll do a little bit of counter canter and then come back across. But on the older horses, I let them stay in counter canter a little bit longer, maybe a couple more laps, really so they start to use their hind legs, start to find their own balance, and they really strengthen up. It's really important as a rider to use your seat and not your reins too much. And I think this really gets highlighted in a simple change when it's not happening. So as you're cantering around, think about your position. I always think, are my shoulders slightly behind my hips or level with my hips so I know I'm not tipping forwards? Are my hips nice and relaxed? Are my knees open so my hips can be relaxed? And also, can I give my rein so I know I'm not holding on to them? Now let's talk about improving your transitions. If you're struggling with your canter, walk, canter because maybe you feel that horse isn't strong enough, a great place to try and improve your transitions are the canter, trot, canter transitions. The reason this helps is because it's working on the reaction from the horse, and then you can transfer that over into the harder transitions. But if the horse is ignoring your leg from, say, trot to canter, then you're really going to struggle from the walk to canter. So improving your transitions, it's important to think about the reaction from your aids. The horse has to go off one aid and also as soon as you ask it, not 3 or 4 strides after. If you feel that your horse is slightly running away or getting away from you, just think about having a little half halt as you ask to get into the canter, and this will really help. When you first start doing simple changes with your horse for the first time, don't panic about making it a test simple change. So what I mean by this is don't panic if it's 3 to 5 walk steps. You want to go from canter to walk and make sure the horse feels imbalanced and is happy, and then go back into the canter so you don't cause an issue for the horse. Okay, so now let's talk about exercises to help the simple changes. A really good one is riding up the 3/4 line and thinking about the collection. And then you're going to give the rein just to check that the horse isn't leaning on you, and then you can do your walk transition. This is a great place to do it because you're not leaning on the wall and you're not finding that support from the wall, so you feel that you really have to ride the horse from both legs, both reins, and you know that they're straight from you. If you're going to try this exercise, it's important that you can ride up the 3/4 line straight before you start asking the horse to collect. Make sure you can do the first part of the exercise before you start to do the harder parts. This exercise is also great if you want to think about working on your Holtz. It's the same concept. You have to be able to give the rein a couple of strides before you do the transition so you know that the horse isn't running on the forehand and they are nice and in balance. Another great place to start to introduce the canter to walk transition as well is from a 10-meter circle back to the wall and then ask for the walk transition as you get to the wall. The reason this helps is because the circle naturally collects the horse as you come round, and then as you're coming to the wall, the horse will naturally want to sit back more. Again, it's really important that the horse can get around the 10-meter circle with ease before you start asking for the walk transition. So now moving things on a little bit, you've got your simple changes and you feel like you want to start to do them in different areas and start to improve them. One of my favourite places is to do it on a serpentine. So I do as many loops as I feel I can with a serpentine over the centre line each time. The horse will start to anticipate this a little bit, and it may feel like the exercise is getting worse before it gets better, but stick through it and keep going. The turn on the serpentine will again naturally bring the horse back onto their hind legs and will help you with that downwards transition, and then as you're having to come around the next turn, the horse is having to sit again. Another great place as well to do it is around the outside of the arena, so you may be doing little bits of counter canter and little bits of true canter, but it's really good to help you straighten up those transitions. And that's my video on simple changes. I really hope you guys have found it useful. If you want me to go into more detail about anything, just leave a comment and I can do another video. If you have any questions, leave a comment, I'll get back to you. And if you've enjoyed it, please do share it. And I will see you for the next one.